Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 122 of my modded Factorio playthrough. On this episode, we are going to work on expanding our Bobmonium production and finish up with the LTN train stations. Enjoy. See, Bobmonium is empty. That could just be input resource shortage. Yes. Because the train is probably just waiting, right? Yeah, this mine is very low. Okay, well, we're about to be overloaded on nickel here. So I think we're at the point which we need to build a new/different Bobmonium mine. Because I don't want to deal with having an LTN system right now for these resources, since the rest of the resources seem to be holding up, I'm just going to remove this train station and build a better, bigger one somewhere else. Now, what's kind of funny is despite our expansion, there's still not that much Bobmonium out here, at least as far as size. Like, there's a couple of little patches, like we got, 8.7 million Bobmonium there, we've got some here, there's one here, but none of them are like big patches like this stereotype here, so our ability to mine it quickly is going to be limited. Looks like the easiest one to get to, and also the biggest mine, is probably this one up here. We can actually see it with radar. Ah! There's biters there. How'd they get in there? Well, we'll have to take care of that. But we have another mine we can do. And it should be actually fairly easy to get the train tracks out there because we can just go straight up and over the water. And just go basically straight up and in. Should hopefully require the least amount of work necessary. First thing we can do, send this train back to where it needs to go. Because I'm just going to remove this train station altogether because this is a small and fairly insignificant patch. It only has 200,000 left on it, and even when we get prospector upgrades, it's still not going to be a whole lot of resources, so I think at this point we just don't need this train station here anymore. Besides the fact that we have drones that can handle our resources for us, at least when they're low throughput, like something like this. Drones are definitely a convenient way to finish up on a mine that you have, or even mine a small mine that you have without sending a giant train there when you really don't need the train. You can pick up the miners that are empty and leave the rest of them to do their job there. Let's say Bobmonium ore, and it has to be less than, how about 4,000? About 10 drones worth. And that'll be the supply point for the drones. Yes, it's a little inefficient, but since this mine is so slow, having a giant buffer attached to it isn't the worst thing in the world. And the point of this setup is basically just to drain this mine, really. And it's getting slow enough. I mean, look at that. That's the whole mine's output. That's pretty pathetic. So this can't really do a lot for us anymore, so just leaving it on is probably the best thing we can do. So we'll say Bobmonium, and we'll put the 10 drones in there. And now fuel will come along and they will make that short trek to drop it off there, and that will help. And that's good because Bobmonium is gone again. And now this train is here with no station, but we can give it a new station here. And it's important to keep that Bobmonium flowing because that is our primary source of silicon, so we're definitely gonna have silicon problems. And it looks like we have maxed out on nickel now. Now we need to clear a path up to the mine. One advantage of running over water is that you never have to worry about clearing anything on your way to anything when building train tracks. Now we just need to make our mine, except we got some fighters there. Let's use our rifle. Makes this much easier against the big buildings. let's use yarn and add that to our list. And remove the other tiny patch. And there it is running. I'm not going to worry about hooking up the acid for the infinite mining quite yet, because I'm going to want to upgrade this system to have a 5th car on the end here for acid. And since that's not set up yet and I want to stay on task, we'll just not worry about the infinite mining for now. I don't have any regular train stops in my inventory, so let's use an LTN stop. I believe it'll work out just fine if there's no LTN functions enabled. Yeah, it looks like this Bobmonium output is pretty sad. We might need multiple mines doing this. Just Bobmonium's so slow to mine. But we'll call this Bobmonium. Looks like I mistyped that one in there, but let's see. Bobmonium load. There's only the one, so this will be fine. And it looks like that train already has it in here. Okay, so we needed to do the loop. I think we determined that the fast way to do the loop, using the least amount of space possible, is something like that. Well, I believe that is everything. So now we can send this to Bobmonium load, which is now up here. Alright, we're empty. Good enough. Let's send the train down. Well, that's a problem. It took the long, long way around. But we can fix that. Let's change the station name. Get rid of the typo. It's like, well, I was thinking that should keep us supplied up Bobmonium for a little while, but it's about to run out. So we're probably going to need to build more mines than just that. But we're also falling behind. We just haven't had any access to Bobmonium. And yes, this setup is balanced, but not necessarily the trains that deliver the resources. So we're probably going to need to build up multiple mines. Like that Bobmonium mine might not be the only one we run. So we might need to use all of these. And that'll be a good application for LTN, and we'll get to that when we get there, but I don't want to be building tracks all over the place. So this works, and I'm fine with that. As long as it's keeping us supplied with resources as best it can, that'll be good enough. And I see we are using some lubricant now. So is it being consumed from here? Well, I guess it is, because there's a lubricant truck. So we're down to 16,000. So eventually we will get rid of that huge amount of lubricant that we had on hand. There's our pathetic amount of silicon making it down. Okay. Well, in the meantime, we were setting up aluminum here. And of course the bots got it done. Looking good. So I think we can go back to the beginning and work our way the other direction. Oh, that's interesting. That's not good. We got lots of buildup right here. So we've been producing resources that we shouldn't have been. So this warehouse is full. So what was producing it then? It looks like it was being produced on both sides. It could be that the buffer is not big enough for the quantity of resources it needs to go around. Let's see, but those inserters are disabled. They're disabled at the top too. I'm guessing that the length of the belt there was too long, that the working level of the buffer was too small, because it was really only like 1,000 resources. Probably more than that got into the system here and clogged it up. It's my guess what happened there. But I don't want to go around and change every single one of those inserters to be less. Plus, we already have all of this sulfur in the system here. Let's see, more sulfur came from down here. Hard to say exactly where, but it's not coming anymore. Now it's just fluorite here. So, let's build some chests here. Build a larger warehouse. And connect it. Of course, while this is kind of unhooked like this, everything's going to start running again. So you want to hurry up and get everything in there again. But there we go. 51,000. So now the buffer is much larger. It's still set to 50,000, but now it should have a lot of extra space for any extra resources that are on the belts to find their way in. And it looks like this is starting to clear itself out. And some sulfur is going to come down because it was temporarily enabled. And since these things hold 200 per water purifier when they're completely full, that even a few moments of the inserter being on will end up being a huge amount of sulfur. So I can kind of see why perhaps we didn't have enough buffer, because I can see how what a few moments of sulfur generation did. But it's clearing out now. I just noticed that a burner turbine is connected, and that's not supposed to be how it is, so it must be a misplaced pole somewhere when we were moving stuff around. Ah yes, here it is right here. We don't need to have electricity running through here. Just the red signal here. So now, it's no longer in there. It's fine, it was just burning through some of our alien artifacts. But it's better now. Not quite enough landfill yet here. So close. Okay, there's 4 ways out, so there's 4 signals. And now there needs to be rail signals at all of the middle points. There we go. We're kind of looking for... Whoa! Good thing I was standing right here. I guess the train would have stopped, but it might have exploded. The armor would have protected me, but it wouldn't have protected the train. But this looks about right. Where each section of the intersection is its own little square, so they won't influence each other as trains go by. Now we need to do the same thing down here. So the ways out. Get a signal. And then the points in the middle. Get chain signals. And I think that's pretty good. Got our 4 little sections in the middle. So that should work. We'll put the rest of the rail signals in here when everything's all set up. We had the regular iron coils that need to come in here. And there they go. And now, because of the position of this rail, we might have to sacrifice something that is perhaps non-ideal in order to get it lined up with what looks like our invar here. Yep. Let's see here. Well, if it was lined up with the middle, it would be right here. And it will fit just fine. Now, as far as our in-bar plates go, we did plan for 90. But that assumes we can put out 60 steel ingots, which at the current time we cannot. Although I think I might just run the 3 belts up here, because otherwise if we had 3 to 2, we would have to have a balancer. And then it's just going into this warehouse that's also kind of a balancer. So it really doesn't mess anything up to just use all 3. Maybe sometime in the future we can fill them up. But for now, we can definitely make use of them. And that will help us get rid of all of our extra nickel. And it looks like we're finally cleared out all of those extra byproducts that we couldn't use through burning it. And now this whole setup is running at full power, basically providing propane. And that giant cloud is the propane getting burned off. And looks like that is enough to go through the propane that we're producing, charging the accumulators. But the question is are we going through our mineralized water? I mean, it's basically holding. If it's going up or down, it's doing so very slowly. But this looks pretty good. We're finally using all of our byproducts, because we're going through all of those fuel blocks as well. So we're using up all the byproducts. So we'll probably need to keep an eye on those solar panels and the accumulator, because we're at the point where that may not be enough anymore. It's really cool seeing all this stuff finally in motion, because a lot of the time this is all quite static. But now that we are kind of producing resources, we can see the magic at work. And I wonder how we're doing on that mineral oil. It's working its way down. I mean, here's another truck, so it's certainly operating. Just don't need very much of it. Hopefully we've got enough landfill here to finish up this last little section. Not quite. Although, that might actually be enough to... Oops. That might actually be enough to get this train station in here. Kind of. Well, if we're willing to build some bridges, it will be. Let's get this steel in here. Right now, we only really have 1 belt's worth. And this should be running all right. Seems like it. And there's the copper coils. I'm not going to put a bridge here. I'll just wait until we have enough landfill to fill up that last little section. I'll call this copper coil load. Okay, I think that might be everything. Let's look at the map here and see. Steel, Invar, iron coils, copper wire, bronze plate, brass plate, gunmetal plate, tinned wire coil, tin coil, solder coil, lead coil, glass, monosilicon silver, and aluminum plate. So, let's check the network ID. Make sure it's all in here. Now, Bobmonium load is here just because it is technically an LTN train station and it needs to be set up properly, so it was a little crude putting that station there, but it's okay, it won't mess with anything. We'll get it fixed up later. But here's all the stations reporting that all these resources are on the LTN network and ready to go. The only 2 that aren't Well, I guess the only one that isn't is copper coil, and that's just because it just started up, and it's going to take a little while to fill up. But once it's full, all those resources will be available, and requests can be made. So looking pretty good. The last step here is we need to have a train depot for all of these trains to sit at and wait to be requested. The best place to put it might be like maybe up and down here or something, because the trains are going to have to come up, come through, then go to the necessary loading station. So we don't want to put the trains like over here somewhere. I don't know why we would, but if we did, they'd have to go all the way up here the second the request is made, because they are not going to be parking at these stations. But we need kind of some landfill to put it in an ideal spot. So for now, I'm thinking we can kind of do it a little crudely. And maybe just put them just right here on the end and move them later. So we'll connect the trains. They will connect here, but they'll be facing the wrong direction. That's fine. They'll just go down all the way to the end. And we can put a loop right here for them to swing around and then go down the correct way. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. So the loop is easy enough. The trains will be coming in this direction. Let's see if that's enough. We can go around. Kind of, it's a little misshapen, but that's okay. It gets the job done. We'll fix that later when we have more landfill. So we're just really short on landfill right now. It's taking a long time to make even a very small amount of it. We used every last little bit of stone we had available. To build a train depot is pretty straightforward. All it is, it's a place for the train to park. And fuel will be coming through here. But we can get that set up in a bit. But we just need an LTN combinator connected. Set it to the right network ID. So they'll only service the plates. And then we just say that it's a depot. And that's all we have to do. So we'll want to smush as many of these together as we can. So we can do something like this. And we need to get fuel, which can just come in through here. And then we can use the corner inserter to pick up from below, and let's say deliver to the right. Face it up, and then it will pick up and fuel the train. And that should be a pretty repeatable pattern there. So we need to have a total of 16 of these. So we can just kind of pick up the whole thing. And smush them in here as tightly as we can get them. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this is where all the trains will wait for their orders. Whoops. Looks like I got the train station upside down. Because we actually need it to go downwards here. And we don't have to worry about this being the smallest, most perfectest size that it can be. This is good enough for now. And to have all of these combinators here, but we probably only need the one. Because they're all saying exactly the same thing. We just need to connect all of these via wires. And just have this first one saying that these are depots. I believe we did pick up a bunch of road for this. So let's run a road down. Should probably check to see if that'll go in a straight line without hitting anything. It looks like that it will. Let's do our supply depot. Requesting fuel blocks. And we'll do 10 drones worth. And that should go through there alright. It would be nice to have some lights in here. Maybe every third opening. There we go. But we can kind of test our 16 trains by just kind of placing them wherever. Okay. And I believe we still need to set these train station names. So we'll set it as Plate Depot. And they can all be set like that. So there we go, Plate Depot. They're all the same. Let's get some fuel here. Let's grab 20 blocks. So we can fuel up each one of these. So we need to set this to automatic mode. Send it to a station. And then it parks there. And it's waiting for something to do. Noise. Okay. All the trains are in, and you can see these lights are blue, which is marked that this is a depot. And if we go into LTN, network ID of 2, which is what it's set at, we have all of the potential stations it can go to and the resources that are available. And this one, which isn't set right, so it's just included on that list. We can go to depot, and we have our plate depot here, and it shows that there are 16 trains ready to be used. And we've also got access to each one of our trains. And here's each one individually marked. And a little while ago, the drones left to go pick up fuel, and it will fuel up all of these trains. This is just a nice central location for all of this train stuff to happen. Yep. There's all of the train fuel drones picking fuel up. So the last little order of business to get this set up is to get some radars in here. Now that we know how much they'll cover, we can kind of figure out the best place to put them. Seems like placing them up top here might work pretty well. There we go. Now we have radar. So with that, the LTN train network is set up as far as picking up all of the plates. Each plate is being delivered to an LTN train stop, and they are reporting all of their available resources to be picked up by any station that requests them. And we've got a depot with 16 trains. And this is probably too many trains, but there's no such thing as too many trains with LTN because they'll just sit at a depot if they've got nothing to do. So it's not like they're clogging up the network or the train tracks or anything. But we got 16 trains here ready to respond to any LTN requests. What this means is that we don't have to just deliver all of the resources to this one bus. We can deliver them to multiple buses and hopefully make this a little less complicated. So what we're going to need to do next is basically remove just about everything here. There's a couple things that might be left over, like this, that might be worth actually moving somewhere else just to make it look cleaner. And lots of pipes and stuff to move out of the way. Looks like this whole section's going to be removed, and concrete's going to be removed, and this processing here is going to be removed. And we might need to do some drone deliveries to get stone and concrete and bricks over here and whatnot, but that's fairly low priority stuff, so we can do that wherever. But we need room for all these LTN train stations. Now there will be dynamic train stations, which means they can handle the job of many stations just so long as we can get all of the belts in there and the sorting figured out. But it's still going to require at least a few. And we're going to need to put it somewhere, and I don't really want to crowd any of this area. So this is going to be a big open space ready for building. So we might as well put some stations there. And we could build a track out here and down. I was thinking I didn't want to do it because I didn't want a track to come over here, but we'll have to see. It will take longer to go the long way around here. But we know we won't be getting in the way of anything if we go here. So we'll have to see which way works better. I did angle all of these, assuming that all the trains would exit this direction. I could switch it the other side to allow them to exit both ways if we wanted to, but no big deal. But yeah, that's the next step of this, is finally getting all these resources delivered to the bus. But that's going to have to wait till the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.